Earlier this year, the first population-level study on the link between gut bacteria and mental health was published, and another recent study showed that a certain species of bacteria in our guts produce a compound that's actually one of our own neurotransmitters. What does this mean for natural treatments for depression? Find out on this episode of The Dr. K Show. I'm Dr. Karthik Ramanan. I help ambitious individuals end self-criticism with tools and strategies to create optimal, everyday mental health. If you're new here and you know you need to get out of your own way to execute on your passions, I am here for you. I encourage you to subscribe right now. Each week on the Dr. K Show, I answer your burning questions. The second segment is Progress Success, where I share a win from K Nation, people just like you. And in the final segment, I bring the heat. If you need a little kickstart, a little motivation, stick around until the end. I'll drop some wisdom, raw and real. A recent study published in Nature Microbiology examined the relationship between the microbiome, that's the bacteria living in your gut, and mental health. The researchers combined microbiome data with depression diagnoses for 1,054 participants. They wanted to see if specific microorganisms living in these individuals' guts correlated with mental illness. The researchers found that two species, Coprococcus and Dialaster, were low in individuals experiencing depression. They also found that individuals who had high levels of Coprococcus and Faecalibacterium species in their guts had higher quality of life indicators. These last two strains produce butyrate, which is a short-chain fatty acid, which is important for keeping the cells of your colon healthy. It's also believed to play a role in regulating immune function and several other roles. Butyrate is super important. Are you finding this fascinating? If you are, hit that like button right now. Here's a bonus fact. Another recent study published in Nature Microbiology found that Bacteroides produces gamma-aminobutyric acid, more commonly known as GABA. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that is produced by the brain and actually blocks impulses between nerve cells. So low levels of GABA, as you might imagine, are actually associated with anxiety. Low GABA can't calm yourself. And here we find that a bacteria species in a healthy gut also produces GABA? That's pretty remarkable if you ask me. Now, maybe you're wondering, do these low levels of beneficial bacterial species produce mental illness, or does mental illness produce low levels of these bacterial species? The answer is, if you hear anyone say that a specific scientific study proves X, Y, or Z, it's very hard to truly demonstrate proof in medicine, especially with one single study. All we know is that mental health and a quality microbiome go hand in hand. So, if we consume the right foods and address the mind, we're going to be better equipped to create optimal, everyday mental health. So how can we take action on this knowledge? Be sure to check out episode 8 of the Dr. K Show for the best foods for anxiety. The insight I'm about to give in relation to depression is really 100% in alignment with what I said on that episode. Basically, short answer, eat more fiber-rich whole plant foods. A lot of them. And by the way, remember butyrate, that short-chain fatty acid that I mentioned earlier in this episode that was good for colon cells? Well, guess what the bacteria that produce butyrate need? Fiber. There is no substitute for fiber. Question of the day. Do you feel that you get enough fiber in your daily diet? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd be happy to give you any tips for getting more fiber if you need help. Today's Progress Success is brought to you by a client of mine. She actually had a setback, the first setback since we started working together, and I'm not going to share the details, but just know that it could have undone a couple months of work in terms of the progress in her relationship with her husband and her own psychology of getting out of her own way to live the life that she wants. So why is that in Progress Success? Because we spent an hour examining the setback and creating a strong emotional lesson. And that lesson is actually something that she would not have learned without the setback. So look, in life, we either have successes or we have lessons. Our failures are only failures if we do not learn from them. If we learn a lesson from them and take action on that lesson moving forward, those failures are actually a gift. I remember what it was like being depressed. I remember not wanting to talk to anyone, just wanting to retreat. Everything that happened to me felt like the end of the world, and I couldn't see more than 2 weeks into the future. I remember how much I hated when people would just say, "Cheer up," or "It's not that bad, it could be worse." They did not get it. I know how debilitating depression is, and here's the hard truth that I had to swallow after 5 years of dealing with it. After a while, I just wanted to be depressed. I wanted to have an excuse that I couldn't be my best. I wanted to have an excuse for anything that went wrong. I wanted to have something to blame for living beneath my potential. I didn't want to hear the truth at the time, but looking back, I really did want to just live in my hole. If you're going through a depressed time of your life, I want you to know that you are not broken. You will not always feel this way. Did you know that when we're depressed, our brains actually have greater neuroplasticity, which means they form new connections more readily than at other times? So what if your depression was a gift that allowed you to reconnect your brain in an empowering way? What if your depression was the launching point for a greater life? It was for me. If you feel ready to launch out of your depression, let now be the time. Let this be the time that you eat whole plant foods, move your body, detox from your phone, and start dreaming like a child of the life that you can have, the life that you deserve. Depression is not the end, it is truly the beginning, and I believe in your greatness. Let this be the time that you eat oh, I think I have something in my eye. How can we take advantage on this knowledge? Okay. That those who had high lyles, scratching my cornea. And another recent study showed that I need to call Dr. Eye Health.